Can you hear me? Hello, Anna Dryanev. I'm hearing you on Bob Sesame. Yes, my regular gig now. Co-host. Kind of cool. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Do I have the fragrance of the Trump perfume? Yes. Yes. Oh, it smells really bad. Probably helps out the I try. This is what I always wanted to be when I went to politics. I'm finding my way back to comedy. Like that one? Yeah. Come up with different ideas. Who are you? Cliffhanger? We're coming to the end here where I have to address you directly. And I think you're all hearing me, so we're going to do the usual check. Lights, camera, action, microphone. Everyone's hearing me good? Yeah. We're rocking and rolling. You had fun at Tony's show if you were there. 1 month, 1 week till YouTube becomes censored. What are we talking about there? Ichabod. You are audible, just not visible yet? Are you kidding me? Please don't make me cry. I have to be visible. Coming in loud and clear. I'm here. Can you see me? Am I visible? Now I'm visible. What color's my sweater? What's the book on my... I'm just kidding. Okay. You can see Ichabod's a liar. Well, thanks, Ichabod. Is Ichabod a troll? If Ichabod is a liar who kind of made a good old-fashioned joke, we take that. We like that. I think we should start right away. We got Tony coming. Hal's coming in not too long. So look, I've been... Why don't we start this the way we should? I didn't even say to you, I'm losing track of all of my catchphrases. Welcome from the Queen City, Radio City. I'm sitting right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, which we will blue dot in a red state, which we will, damn it, we'll turn this state around. But thank you for being here. Let's start with Cliff's note. I didn't say it wrong today, so they can't sue me. All right. I've been talking a lot about terrible Republicans, terrible right-wingers, terrible billionaires, terrible oligarchs, and that's because there are lots of terrible all of those things. I mean, there's more terrible stuff. We haven't talked about the shark from Jaws. He's pretty bad. Who's the bad guy in the movie Highlander who does the voice on SpongeBob SquarePants? That dude. We haven't talked about him. He's from Ohio, by the way, and I can't think of his name. But we've talked about everybody awful in government right now and people that aren't in government but pretend to be, like Elon. What a loser. I'm sorry. I just had to say that. That wasn't in the plan. However, when I see Democrats, and I don't need to go into naming them, there are a couple of them who said, Elon's a genius. Geniuses often take the value of investments in companies like Twitter. They overpay by $12 billion for $44 billion and then take them down to a worth of $8 billion. They often have their entire car market alienated because only lefties want to buy Teslas with people riding around with stickers. I bought this before Elon opened his mouth. Yes, he's a genius. And then there's Donald Trump. Nobody argues he's a genius, but they seem to argue somehow he's a competent businessman because, casinos, really, really easy to go into a place and actually bankrupt it where people hand you their money for nothing, for chips that you're going to lose anyhow, where they're pumping oxygen in the room and there's no light, no windows and no clocks because they want to disorient you. So you'll just sit there and keep drinking and gambling and lose all your money, which is what happens at most places, except for when Donald Trump runs them. These two people are morons. They don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to run a government. They've stolen other people's ideas. They don't pay workers. They treat women horribly. Okay. And seeing Democrats call for pardons and kiss their butts has angered me greatly, and I'm sure it's angered you. So why don't we talk about some of the people that are doing it right? Over the last, and I've seen a couple extra ones, we can mention them too, but over the last 24 hours, I don't know if it's going to be a mutual thing. I've fallen in love with Maxwell Frost, who I was a big fan of anyhow. Gen Z, again, we got to get to a point where we're giving it to people, giving power over to those born in the middle of Gen X like me, who aren't even early Xers, who are hitting their 50s. All right. How old is Frost? Early 30s? I mean, absolutely somebody who should have a more powerful position. We talked about AOC the other day. Should be running a committee, and she should be out there because she's one of our most talented communicators. Young, talented communicators. Chris Murphy, he may be a little older than that, but I think he's in his 40s. He's one of those too. We're going to read you some stuff that Chris had to say and Maxwell had to say because they're doing what Democrats should be doing. You see, you get called an opposition party because you oppose. It's in the word. Oppose is in the word opposition. I don't know if you knew that. So if you just say nice things about the guy who did all the stuff on January 6th, who's still the same traitorous, treasonous, woman-hating convict, as they reaffirmed yesterday or day before in New York, and a million other things. Horrible to workers, didn't pay them, and hangs around all day with oligarchs and is a monopolistic fool. He's replacing Biden's guy, by the way, who was taking apart monopolies. We did one of the best jobs in that too, and you never heard about it under Biden. We're not going to do that under Bush. Bush? Yeah. We didn't under Bush, by the way. He was terrible at that too, which is what I was thinking. We're not going to under Trump. He's going to push monopolies like crazy. All right. And they destroy us in the very many ways I pointed out, from consumers to environment to workers, because they have no competition. Well, let me get to the fun part of the show where I read you what these awesome guys have said. So Chris Murphy went on MSNBC, and I'm going to read this in order because I'm going to make sure I get it right. But he was very clear about the Democrats are not acting like an opposition party. In fact, Greg Sargent, who writes for the New Republic, quoted him on that, not functioning as an effective opposition party to Trump's accelerating authoritarianism. You could call it that. And here's what he had to say to MSNBC. It's not enough to tell people Trump is trying to kill free speech. We need to explain why. It's because Trump and his billionaire advisors want to rig the rule of government to enrich themselves. And they want no one to be able to hold them accountable. Exactly. He ran to get out of going to prison and to be able to steal public money, foreign money, whatever money he can line his pockets with. I bet you have that 15 million ABC gave to his foundation or whatever it is for his library, like Donald Trump library. They're going to have coloring books in there. 2/3 at least ends up in his pocket. Murphy added, why is Donald Trump engaged in a relentless campaign to try to silence journalists, media companies, and political opposition? It's because he's trying to steal from you. Yes, the rich billionaire guy with his billionaire friends want to steal from the rest of us. And if nobody's there to hold them accountable, they can just do that. Continued. I read the headlines about Liz Cheney's criminal referral, and almost every single one of them in mainstream media played this straight as if it was a normal function of legislative power, instead of telling the truth, which is this is out of thin air. Yes, they're doing that too. Our media, also huge monopolies. There's only 6 companies that own 80% of the media market, run by guys who are, if they're not billionaires, are multi 100, 200, 800 millionaires. They're not telling you the truth. I'm sure that will shock you. It is all of us against them, the few of them. They've made it clear again and again. And I think, let's see, did he finish up here? He added the Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. You remember Pam Bondi protected Trump and threw aside a charge from Trump University where he would have gotten in trouble in Florida. Kash Patel, you know, crazy eye Kash Patel up in his leather outfit that I'm sure he goes out to some nice bars in DuPont Circle on. Doesn't talk about that, though. Urban Cowboy, that one. What did he have to say? These fights are really important, even if we don't win them. A guy who understands PR in the Democratic Party, it's amazing. You fight the fights to make the argument, because they're the place where we can explain to the American public Trump's plan that he's putting in place as we speak to use the White House to crush dissent, again, so he can pocket the money. Trump is building an administration full of self-dealing millionaires and billionaires who are taking these jobs to rig the rules to help high-income investors and hurt workers. You should start learning about who these people are and what their agenda is. Yes, name them, shame them, make sure they become famous. Elon Musk should be the most infamous evil demon, this loser, cringe, jump up on stage like a dork, incel, except for, you know, forced himself to have like 12 kids, of which, you know, I think 11 and a half aren't speaking to him. This should be something everybody should know. And again, Chris Murphy has the message exactly right. It's against the billionaires. The only thing he said wrong there is I wouldn't even mention millionaires. There are people who have $1 million who saved all their lives and maybe in a pension. They're not rich. They're not poor. I'm not saying we should look at them as they're poor people, but if we comparing somebody who has $1 million to Elon Musk is like comparing somebody who has $1 million to somebody who's homeless. They own us. I don't care if you have $1 million, $500,000, probably if you have a couple $1 million, or you got nothing. All right. They're the bad guys. They're the monopolies, the media monopolies. So that's what Chris Murphy had to say. Brilliant. Please, Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, like some of the other people that are sort of reaching that level of gerontocracy where we're like, hey, what do the actuarial charts actually say? Don't you want to spend some years with your grandkids? Leave the Senate because you refuse to do your jobs. Let Chris Murphy take it over. Maybe Brian Schatz with him, Tammy Duckworth, the fighters. Okay. And then there's my man, Maxwell Frost, who I am so impressed by. He's my new love. It used to be Tony, But I'm just, the Ozarks are a little too much for me. So I think I'm going to leave him aside, and I'm going to go on with my friend Maxwell. Listen to this just string of tweets, blue skies, whatever they are. Elon Musk doing to Congress what he does to Tesla drivers, trapping us inside and sending us on fire. Yes, that's right. He's a congressman and said that. He didn't say, well, both sides, and the Republicans might have a point. No, they don't have a point. Okay? Many of them are criminals, and the ones who aren't want to be. They aspire to it. They want to steal our money. Next quote from Maxwell Frost. Elon is still coming for me on the other site. This is on Blue Sky. So he's attacking him on Twitter, trying to say how he's going to get him unelected. I reminded him that his site is worth 80% less than when he bought it. This is how you do it again, folks. He is mocking him. He's insulting him. He's not being scared of the billionaire. Because if you run a message directly, I would want Elon Musk to come in my district. Run a message directly against the billionaire, directly against his little secretive backroom meetings where he's controlling all of our lives. That is why his numbers are in the toilet right now, Elon Musk. And people, even Republicans, are angry that he has anything to do with policy. He just helped shut down a deal to avert the debt ceiling. We shouldn't even have the debt ceiling. It's anti-constitutional, and Democrats should just say we're not doing it. But that's another argument. The fact is that we had a deal in the framework of what we were doing, and Elon Musk makes some phone calls. And Mike Johnson, oh my God, must have taken some time off for looking at his son's entertainment, and sent out a tweet that I'm on a text chain with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. Are those three altogether the three biggest tools? I mean, I do not believe in bullying, but if we could go back in time and shove them into more lockers in high school, I would be all for that. Maxwell Frost. And he lost 80% of the value of Tesla, and he wants to decide how the country is run. LOL. On the other app, Elon is saying that I'll be kicked out of office soon. He's very, very easily triggered. So I replied with the candidate form so he can run. I mean, tell me anybody does this better than Frost is doing this right here. And let's see, we got one or two more. And just like that, Republican unelected co-president Elon Musk keeps saying that, by the way, Republican President Musk, co-president Donald Trump is going to lose it. Killed the bill to keep the government from shutting down our party. All he had to do was make a few social media posts. Trump said he'd empower working people. All he's done is empower the ultra wealthy. Again, us against them, but also the reason why posts like places like Twitter must be regulated to hell, because disinformation. I just read a great article on what they're doing in Brazil after Bolsonaro to make sure disinformation, the second biggest democracy in this region, by the way, by population, will not determine their elections. We should be following that. And it's more easier said than done because we have to deal with the Supreme Court we have to deal with. But our interpretation of the First Amendment is stupid, self-defeating, and will kill our democracy. Disinformation does not equal information. It's not even close. An unelected billionaire was crowned co-president by the Republican Party. They've given him the influence to make a damn post that throws a spending bill into limbo because House Republicans are scared of him. No greater example of oligarchy, where the ultra-wealthy run the show. Man's on message again. Those were the two sets of posts and comments made by Chris Murphy and by Maxwell Frost. One younger guy in the Senate, who should be leading the Senate, one young guy in the House who should be among those leading the House. They have both shown they are that next generation that understands what this fight is about, that you don't sit there and wait for, let's take a poll and see how people feel about Donald Trump. I mean, this has been an ailment of the Democratic Party for 30 years. No, you move the poll numbers. When Obama won an overwhelming election in 2008, do you know what the Republicans did that night? All of them? The leaders, they got together and decided how they were going to bring his numbers down. They didn't say, well, the polls say Obama's popular. We better just let him do whatever he wants. Could we get some of that? There are actually some things Republicans do right. And having a spine on standing up for things that they believe in, even though everything they believe in is awful, we could use some of that. To give some shout outs quickly, Robert Garcia, Congressman, also, sent something out. Welcome to the Elon Musk presidency, where Donald Trump is now clearly vice president. Well done, my friend. They want a government shutdown that would hurt millions of Americans. It's totally insane. Yes, you're out there on this too. And Daniel Goldman, who's been one of my favorites for a long time, hits back hard. Here's a friendly reminder for Republicans. You took an oath to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump. You enable his authoritarian impulses. You will be complicit and directly responsible for the dismantling of democracy. And there's more where all that came from, but I want you to think about what Frost and Murphy did, how they messaged it, who we're up against. Elon Musk could not be a better devil for us to concentrate everything on. He should become the George Soros of the right. He is doing all of that stuff. He is unlikable as hell. This is easy. It's a layup. So let's take it. Learn from these guys, okay? There are positives out there, and that's what I wanted to leave with today. Chris Murphy, Maxwell Frost, Goldman Garcia, and others. Don't listen to the, you should be pardoned. No. He's still a criminal. He still is a Putin fluffer. He's still awful for our democracy. Elon Musk is even worse, believe it or not, because he wasn't even elected. Make these guys into the demons and bad guys they are. I promise you. I would bet everything I own on it that if we made that the message running against these billionaires, these people ripping us off, these monopolies, we would win such a crushing midterm election, assuming we have that election. But that's up to us to fight for. Fantastic. I appreciate you all listening to Cliff's Note. That's what I got for you today. And let's see if I can find the Tone Man. Well, hey,
hey, how's it going?
I have anything to say there that kind of appealed to you?
No, I like what you're saying. I smell what you're stepping in. But I will say, while you were doing that, I was on my cell phone. I was using Grok, which is the AI on Twitter. I was using it to make images of Elon Musk being the monopoly man.
Can you help me do that too? Because I want to use. I just want to use it to troll him. Jim Williams just mentioned Lawrence O'Donnell was the top of his game last night. I'm going to be really, really honest. I've been on that show. I've been on a few other MSNBC shows. I only say that because I don't want to act like I'm playing favorites with Lawrence O'Donnell just because I've been on his show. He's the best. If there were one voice that we're going to keep out there on a lefty media channel, he takes no crap. He stands up for what's right. He has the experience and knowledge. He worked on the Hill. He worked on campaigns. He actually knows what he's talking about. And you know what? Again, just to prove this message I've been saying, that you actually can be a millionaire and strike out against the multi-billionaires. Obviously, Lawrence O'Donnell makes a lot of money. Lawrence O'Donnell comes from I think his dad was a huge trial lawyer in Boston is where he got his start. He worked in Hollywood, okay? And the fact of the matter is that he still knows ownership class when he sees it. No matter if he's making $5 or $10 million a year, that's not Elon Musk money. FDR understood that. I invite their hatred. Okay, like even if you thought it was hypocrisy with what the hypocrisy the Republicans engage in, we need to learn to let all that go. Call them who they are. Don't think about anything else. Okay, I don't care if you make $10 million a year, but you're a good person and you're making sure that to get money to charities, to get money to women trying to cross lines so they have their rights, to get money to protect all sorts of people, you're a good person. I don't say anything about you for that. And you also can stand up and call them out for being oligarchs. So that's
speaking of calling people out, or more just like glomming on to oligarchs. So I showed you the video of their perp walk of Luigi Mangione, the alleged assassin of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Health.
And I'll say quickly, he's an important one because guess what? He went to an Ivy League school, grew up in a wealthy family, went to a prep school that was all the best, and still was driven to a place where he was in massive pain all the time by a healthcare system that sucks and wasn't spending its time looking into healthcare, was spending its time trying to make money. So he fits with us too in that way. Again, murder on the street, I can't accept because if we head in that direction, we'll become like, it'll be a civil war. We'll become like the Old West and a lot of innocent people will die. So I do not want that. I want to be very clear, but I fully understand his sentiments, if not the tactics he chose. Okay.
So
Thank you, Eva Wilburn, by the way, for becoming a member. Thank you, Kadilak, for giving 5 new members. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Didn't even have to ask yet. You guys are awesome. Back to Tony.
Well, I noticed something, and Wu-Tang for Children on Twitter pointed this out. This happened in New York City. It happened on a sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan, where allegedly Luigi Mangione assassinated Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. But I find it funny because you saw the video where there was just dozens and dozens of officers. They had automatic weapons, body armor. They clearly were sending a message. The message that's also sent and I think this is hilarious because Donald Trump has been talking about maybe pardoning Eric Adams for his in federal indictments. Eric Adams was at this perp walk.
Of course. Eric Adams is waiting.
If that doesn't tell you that Eric Adams is waiting to pivot to be MAGA and waiting to pivot to show that he is part of the monopoly state.
Blagojevich trick. When you become a criminal as a Democrat, you know that MAGA, if you embrace them, will give you a pardon, and then you get to be a Republican.
Well, and I don't know if it's MAGA. It's more the monopoly state. You know, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop pinning MAGA as MAGA, and I think I'm going to start pinning these people up as the monopoly state.
Call it the MAGA monopoly state. I don't know.
That's not bad.
I understand where you're coming
bad.
from, but here's where I'm coming from. There's this incredibly sexy man with long hair waiting in the room here to get in.
I thought I was supposed to be the sexiest guest on this show. What the hell's going on here?
Well, you cut your hair, and you're all bearded and stuff.
That's right. I mean, it's a matter of opinion. That's the great thing is everybody's got to, everybody's got a type. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, Hal, don't be so shy. You're objectively attractive. Even straight men probably still find you attractive.
I have to say, Hal, when you told, again, I brought this up before, when you told Spider-Man in the movie, in the elevator with him, that his outfit looked a little tight around the crotch, I may have gotten a semi-stiffy from that. I'm just going to be honest.
I think that shows taste and breeding on your part. It is clear that you were raised right.
What sucks is I've now made that gross because my kids love that scene from that movie, and they're like, that guy? I'm like, I know that guy. I go on his show. He told the Spider-Man.
And now he comes on your show. To talk about the scene where he admires Spider-Man's crotch.
And better yet, if Hal's telling the truth, and now I need to shut up and let Hal talk a little bit. But I believe sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours, he's going to be coming to my neck of the woods, and we're going to be taking pictures together, hanging out.
Ooh.
That's right. We'll be in. I'll be in the generalized Cincy, Northern Kentucky area. The Larry Flintistan, as I like to call it.
Best human to ever come out of here was Larry Flint. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, besides my birth, I suppose I was born there, but only because it was the nearest hospital without chickens. So
your family.
Wait. So there are hospitals with chickens. Your mom just wouldn't give birth to you there. Is that what I'm?
No, she was visiting my grandmother outside of Cincinnati, and she went to labor. Then I think it's the general.
You were supposed to be born in a hospital with chickens. You just happened to be born.
Awesome.
Yeah, I lucked out.
There's that Republican candidate who talked about going back, if we lost Obamacare, going back to healthcare system where you traded chickens for medical attention. So I thought that might
hit home. On there. My mom worked in home health. My mom worked in home health services in Kentucky, and one of the things that she did after she retired as a volunteer was help with people signing up for Kentucky Connect, which is the Kentucky outlet for the ACA. And people were coming up at state fairs and going, "I'm so glad Kentucky's got Kentucky Connect. I don't want none of that Obamacare nonsense." And the lady sitting next to her was like, "Actually," and my mom just like touched her shoulder and was like, "Just let them believe whatever they want to believe. They need insurance."
Because that program did so well in Kentucky, and it was created by Bashir's dad, who came a few terms before, who was the attorney general and then the governor. And while all these red states weren't doing it, Bashir created it, and it was fantastic. But of course, again, Democrats not properly doing our messaging to make sure everybody understood what Obamacare was. We just thought, they'll figure it out. They thought their Connect was a local program that had nothing to do with the black president, and they were able to,
Yeah, I think there was
somebody
also
has rock hard nips for you here, just so you know, Hal. I thought you should check out the message there. That's not me.
I do what I can. I'm trying to spread the joy as much as I can. Here's what, and thank you, Chipmunk Milk. I appreciate that. I can't imagine how you get enough to make cheese, but I'm sure it's a lesson for all of us. Here's what I would say. As someone who has an ego worthy of my position on this planet, one of the things that I believe for a long time, and I think Tony's on board with this certainly, and so are you, Cliff, that humble kills. There's a certain value in humility, understanding in your greater arc of the universe, your value and your equalness with your fellow human beings. But oftentimes Democrats will, and this is a way of complying in advance or obeying in advance, is humble themselves before the process and not make too big a stink about all the great things that they do, which is why a lot of times if you hear Democrats talk about our time in office versus Republicans' time in office, they talk about it the same way maggots talk about, Democrats as well. Like, it's sort of in reverse. Like, we don't get anything. Trump rolls in and gets everything he wants, and we don't get anything. I'm like, okay, no, he didn't. We passed the infrastructure bill. We passed the ACA. We passed the CHIPS Act. We passed the rescue package. Like he and a lot of what he tries to undo,
the veterans, the COVID,
the PACT Act, absolutely. And part of it is. There was this idea, and I think pre-Trump, there was a version of it where if we just don't congratulate ourselves too much, the Republicans won't get offended and they'll continue to work with us on priorities that will really help people. And, for a period of time, I suppose that was true. Now it's not anymore. It's all ego and social media governance as far as Trump is concerned. And it's all about who can claim
money, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
You're so right in how, not to say we're old, just compared to Tony because he's a baby, but we go back long enough where when there was a time when John Chafee was a senator, when there was a time when Olympia Snowe was a senator, when there was a time going further back, Jacob Javits from New York, who's to the left of probably most of the Democratic caucus, a Republican. That was a different time where, yes, you might not insult Republicans in a partisan way because you could actually work with them. Now, the Republicans you can actually work with have a name. They're called Lisa Murkowski. And that is pretty much it. So
that's right.
Insult them.
And I also think that there's a value in we need to start beating our chest about the good things that we've done. And because they have not been able to undo the ACA and Trump's concepts of a plan didn't, as stupid as it was during the during the debates, actually did have an impact on dulling his votes. Why he's only got a 1.5% margin in his popular vote win, half of what Hillary Clinton had. So the idea that it didn't impact that kind of stuff isn't having an impact on how he will govern and what he'll be able to do is obvious to everyone except people on Twitter, apparently, because they think they're going to govern from Twitter.
Well, they also think, a lot of those guys on there, that they're someday going to move beyond a balloon animal or, like a blow-up clown and actually have relations with a woman. And they've been mistaken in that one,
blow
too.
Up doll, but,
Yeah,
well,
sure.
I decided to get a little more creative, Tony.
Yeah, give him a little room. And he wanted to include Comer.
Yeah, he's a balloon.
Dachshund, right?
He is a balloon animal.
Right.
That guy.
Yeah, he would fuck a clown, a balloon dog, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that Democrats need to, if we've learned anything from this era that we have entered into, be it the American Idol, well, here's the thing. I think there's this idea that they want new robber barons, and this is what all that tariff talk is about, but they can't do it. As much as they might want to, this idea that even, I think the greatest example is Elon Musk. He only has one company that he runs or has that isn't funded, supported, or completely substrated by government funds, and that's Twitter, and it's a dump.
And it's closely, clearly on its way to net value zero. And I cannot wait till it, because again, as I've said to people, what's going to happen there? So the lefties are leaving, or if they even are there, are much less involved. So the righties are all getting into wars with each other, because if you looked at what trolls, and I often mock trolls who come in here about this, numerous studies, Psychology Today, other places, trolls are sadists, they're narcissists, they're sociopaths. They've got a lot of problems they got to take care of. So they need somebody to attack to get out of their pathetic lives. So what they're going to do is attack each other. But soon, I promise you, they're going to move to other areas of Twitter that are still functioning. I can say as a Yankees fan, there's still a big base of Yankees Twitter. Watch, they're going to go to baseball Twitter, start attacking them. They're going to go to art Twitter and start attacking them. And all of those folks are going to get the hell out of there too. So it's just going to be a Nazi circle jerk. And that's when the value is really high for advertisers. And that thing's just going to implode and fall apart.
Well, I'll say one thing because I got to jump here, but I want to say one thing. I want to crap in the cereal here a little bit with a little bit of cynicism. I will say I think the reason why Democrats have always been able to fail at messaging mainly is because they are wholly owned by the oligarch too. And I know it's a little cynical. I mean, it's a little skeptical, and I know you're shaking your head.
It's more.
Here's what I'll say.
More than no. It's more than a little cynical. It's actively nihilist, and it's also not true. Our messaging problem on the Democratic side has nothing to do with the fact that corporate overlords are saying "watch your mouth." It's because we are an inclusive, open group, and we listen to everybody, and that leads to paralysis.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem. I think the issue is that these programs, all the acts that you laid out there, they help the great American working class. That's what those acts do. That's what those laws do. And there is no interest in oligarchs, whether they own the media or whether it be the Washington Post or Fox News or CNN. There is no interest in them pushing programs, especially laws and legislation that would be passed for the American working class in a place that is owned and wholly operated by billionaires who want to push their oligarchy on us, and that their oligarchy is the way forward. So I know that it seems like nihilism, but what I'm trying to say is that the reason why Democrats, their brand never shines through is because we really are hamstrung by the oligarchy in this country, whether it be in our media or whether it be in those boardrooms or whether it be in the committee rooms.
I'm going to jump in the middle of the two of you here just to make what I think is an important distinction. I absolutely think a message right now, as you've heard from me, against billionaires, oligarchy, monopolies is absolutely the message, because that is who controls power in this country. That's who controls the Republican Party. Okay, we're done with that. When it comes to Democrats, are there some Democrats because they take corporate PAC money that have pulled their punches? Yes. Are there Joe Manchins and Kirsten Sinemas out there? Yes. But you can't fall into, Tony, the territory. If you say they own both parties, you're falling to Cenk Uygur territory. I mean, you are. Okay.
There's also here's the bigger issue with that.
And then I'll take the whole thing.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say there's a certain number of Democrats, yes, that are way too close to wealth, and I think it has hamstrung them. But it is not the majority of our party. It is some that have got, made it so it's harder for us to do things at times. Manchin Cinema, classic examples. But the entire Republican Party is owned by them. And I think there's a huge distinction, and I'm kicking it back to Hal.
Go ahead.
Okay. My issue is I'm never interested in an externalized threat that I have no control over. That you nor I nor Cliff have any control over what oligarchs think or do in this country, and there is no direct attack form that we can have on them, their control of messaging. So that I seek first the solutions that are within our realm of possibility, and that is where Democrats themselves tiptoe around these kind of things, largely because when we're trying to help real voters, and you haven't gotten there yet, you haven't gotten everybody. The child income tax credit helps with child poverty. It lowers it by 60%. But what about the other 40%? Right. But what about the other 40% is the languaging that every single House Democrat deals with from constituent calls, whether they're real or faked, quite frankly, the second they start crowing about this, because of either, again, the broad base of people and this kind of like always caveating is going to always interrupt your messaging. It always is. Instead of going, we did good, period, end of story, and we're going to keep doing it. That has to be the message. And what it is right now is we did good, and there's still some stuff to do. And yes, it's not for everybody, but that's how it mealy-mouthed its way through. And where that's how the ACA had a 57%, has I think somewhere close to 60% favorability rating now, and had a 20% favorability rating when it came out, was because
we let them define
sucked, but the material value of the bill saved lives. And over time, that became self-evident to the people who participate in it. And still, Democrats tiptoe, but for a few firebrands, tiptoe around even the Infrastructure Act. And that's as material as you get.
That's
helping
so many
the average
union jobs, and
right.
And we in the end got it done. We knew Joe Biden knew how to make sure it was in Mitch McConnell's interest to do it.
And
what do billionaires hate more than unions? What do billionaires and oligarchs and big business hate more than labor unions?
Me?
Social Security.
No, I'm just I mean that too.
Brushing
They're
their
coming
teeth?
after that too. They're coming after that too. And I'll tell you that I don't know if anyone knows this.
Ego.
But the point I'm trying to make, and the sentiment that is clearly underlying in our country, and it's not just with Democrats, and that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. It's not just with liberals, it's not just with Democrats, people who identify as that. I'm telling you, the great American working class, because Democrats lost the message of the working class. They lost it. They lost it with book bans and drag shows and all that nonsense that we paid attention to when MAGA was throwing those distraction at us, and we had those fights, and we had to break our tent up for their purity test, when our purity test is one simple thing. It is up versus down. It is the have versus have nots, and that's what it is. And I guarantee you, if we get back to that messaging and we try to stay away from this, Democrats can't do any bad because they don't say it the right way. If we get back to that place, I am willing to say that I want hordes and millions of Trump voters to realize that they got duped and they need to come back to the right team, which is the American working class, and that is a huge windfall when you're talking about political power.
I agree, but let me make a direct contrast in that situation as to why that was. Joe Biden's the first president to stand on a union picket line,
absolutely,
and fight for 3 unions in a row that had strikes that helped work out a deal that was the best deal those workers had ever fucking had.
My God.
Yep.
And
correct.
The response from the quote unquote liberal media in support of that was fucking zero. And the working class liberal crowd, the faux-gressives, I call them, took their ball and went home over a myriad of sideline issues that we were playing ball in. The idea that if we just ring the working class bell again, they'll sort of know it's dinner time, also belies the fact that we have a subversive nihilism that we deal with, just like the maggots and their freedom Caucasians deal with on their side, that undermine their caucus and their vote. Right. But ours is bigger because we give a shit about voters. It's the difference between the parties.
I'll tell you, though, but when billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who just went down to Mar-a-Lago, and he didn't go down to kiss the ring. Jeff Bezos went down to secure the privatization of the United States Postal Service. Let's not forget that, because that's
I think he went down to hawk the ring.
Well, that might be. But here's what I'll say is that when Joe Biden went and stood with the great American working class, what the billionaires did in this country, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, is they knew what that meant. That meant that labor unions might just come for their wallets, and they stepped in and they bought and paid for someone like Trump. And that's why Jeff Bezos decided that he was going to make sure that his Washington Post didn't endorse Kamala. And I think we're all on the same page. I want to say before I leave, I think we're all on the same page here. The difference is in how we communicate this maybe to some people. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We need to work this out, because we need to have one purity test, because purity tests work. It clearly works. It worked with MAGA. It worked with us. We need to have one purity test and one purity test only. This is not a left versus right game. It is an up versus down game. And that should be our purity test, is the have versus the have-nots. And if we get in that place that you are welcome in our camp, on our team, because we are teams, baby, in America. You're welcome on our team, no matter who you vote for, no matter who you want in what bathroom, as long as you don't want the billionaires stealing your money out of your wallet while they're raising your taxes and stealing your road money. That's what I think the purity test should be.
I hear you. I think that's a conversation that's much closer to preaching to the choir when it comes to the maggots.
Absolutely.
They think they're going to win the lottery and Democrats are going to tax half of it. And even if they're the have-nots, they think the day I do have it, and it's going to happen magically because of Jesus or a mega church or money or the lottery, Democrats are going to take it away and give it to brown people or whatever. And convincing those people to walk back over to the Democratic Party is a long haul, because there's 3 bear traps.
I don't think we have to convince them to walk back to the Democratic Party.
You can win some of those folks.
I don't think we have to walk them back to the Democrats. I think we get them to not vote for Republicans who are in bed with with the billionaires, and I think we win. Guys, I gotta go, and I appreciate the debate.
Good talking to
you. I always appreciate it, especially when we don't exactly agree on an issue, that we can stand here and work this out. That's right.
Yeah,
but that's
we're just going to talk about you once you leave, Tony.
Well, great.
We'll say nice things.
Absolutely. Talk crazy stuff about me. Tony's wrong.
Nice things about your hat.
It will not hurt my feelings. It will not hurt my feelings. How come I can make sure?
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys soon.
All right. Cheers.
Yep.
Thanks.
I want you to talk further about Hal, but again, I was trying to find the nuance in that to me, yes, like the absolute ghouls, the bad guys in this equation, the people that are basically trying to rip this country apart and sell it for parts are the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses and the folks like that. It doesn't that does not change the fact that there's two things going on here. We've got a Democratic Party with a lot of people that are too mealy-mouthed to say what needs to be said because they've always thought protocol is important and tradition is important, which is ironic because those are conservative type things. But and if protected institutions that clearly no longer work and shouldn't be protected. There's 3 or 4 things right now, for example, that do not exist in the Constitution, but we're respecting, and they're giving Republicans power. Filibuster is one of them. The debt ceiling is another one of them. The supposed time lapse that, it's been too much time for the ERA. No, the Constitution says it could be any amount of time. There's no validity to their stupid little congressional thing, and Biden could demand tomorrow that the archivist read it into the Constitution, and it's an amendment. And because it's an amendment, the Supreme Court can't even touch it. So it's that we've been weak and not used power, and it's that we have refused to message, and we haven't even built up a messaging apparatus to share that message. Because again, the Democrats who are leading, and the vast majority of them want what Tony is talking about. Yes, there's some, and the second part of it is. And this is where I argue with people on the far left of the Democratic Party on economic issues is, if just talking about that would solve everything, would be okay. Well, now all the working class folks are going to come back to us. Why don't they in France? Why don't they in Sweden? Why don't they in New Zealand? These are places that give you like 12 weeks vacation and universal family and medical leave and universal health care and all the things that we say we want. And yet you still anti-immigrant, xenophobic, right-wing parties still win the working class. Yeah, still
playing footsie with neo-Nazi groups and that kind of stuff in their chambers and that kind of stuff. Here's one of the reasons. Okay, I'll
just say last thing. Yeah. We can win some of them back, and that should be our message because that is a message to me, an FDR type, let them hate me, TR type, trust-busting, clobber them message. But we do have to be realistic. You're not going to win back all the working class. And you also have to realize you can't be comparing. To me, there's a few Democrats, single them out, the mansions and whatever, who are the corporate Democrats, but it is not the vast majority of them.
And they are leaving the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party does stand for something and they don't. That's one of the reasons
why
we
challenge Christian cinema.
Right. That's exactly right. So here's, for me, I'm always about as a stoic optimist or a purveyor of optimistic stoicism is this idea that I'm really only concerned with that is within my locus of control. And a lot of times the conversation about oligarchs or even the bigger groups or whatever, it ends up sounding like Illuminati talk on the right to me. And they believe the same thing. When we say oligarchs, they say globalists. They mean the same people. Half of the people that are talking mean Jews, and the other half mean this conceptual idea of the upper 1%.
Is it time for me to admit that I do control all of this stuff? Because I can do that if it helps.
Well, I wish you would do a better job. No,
Jews like me, we are failing. We're eating the cats. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're eating the dogs. Right. So for me, I'm always about like, how do we clean up our own house first so that we're not biting ourselves in the back while we're trying to fight against a real thing? Because we have some people in and around our media circle, especially, and those are the purists that I think that Tony was sort of referring to outside of the kind of working class concept, which should be the heart and soul of what we're doing. Because again, it should be.
And let's remind people, working class does not mean white. So often in this country,
right? But it also doesn't not.
No,
here's the thing.
But the media has sort of when in your mind, the media has created this image in American mind when they talk about the working class, they mean the white working class. Whereas,
well, I think that was true until they started saying it a lot. They started saying white working class, and then everybody was ashamed of saying the phrase because it sounded, racist, because it kind of is. And so they stopped saying it. And the idea is that the working class is whoever you picture. When we picture the working class, we picture a largely diverse workforce of maybe it's 60-40 white to, perceived white, Latinos that believe themselves to be white, all that kind of stuff. Yep. That's honestly people who perceive themselves to be white.
I'm sorry. The phrase
exactly what I'm talking about.
First, but
it's true. I mean, it's versus, and not versus, like along with, this is how we picture it, I think, on the Democratic Party, all the other minority groups having an equal shot at jobs and no one being denied an education or a job because of their skin color or their religion. I think that's the working class, the people who put the country together, who get up every day, drop their kids off at school or at the bus or whatever, go to work, come home, do all that kind of stuff, live normal lives, and try to be better people all the time. That's the vast majority, I think, of what most of us picture.
Yeah, I think so.
When Republicans talk about this, if you watch CPAC, if you watch, whatever Turning Points, that Charlie Kirk horseshit, they don't view themselves.
I can't see past his large potato head. So
oh my God, it's painful.
Can you make that face, by the way?
I can. I mean, I don't think it's pretty. I think it's I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah. This is my Charlie Kirk impersonation. Right. Welcome to Turning Points USA. We're going to make America great.
When I go on his show, Hal does that enough.
Make America great. So, here's the thing. When we say working class and they hear it, what they actually hear, if you listen to them talk, they don't view themselves, even if they technically are working class, they don't view themselves as working class. They view themselves as racially superior middle management class. Yeah. It's only a matter of time before I'm a manager. I'm not worried. That's where Trump's black jobs bullshit came from.
You're right.
Here's the thing. Not all jobs are done by black people, but black people only have jobs in his mind. A career is something that has a road ahead of it. A job is drudgery. And so to him, when you talk about working class, people in factories and that kind of stuff, he thinks of these people as dead enders. They work till they're broken, and then
people that work too hard and really have no business living in a Trump-owned property, for example, in 1975.
Exactly right. So, and again, he gets points for not being racist occasionally because some of the people that he puts in his, in his buildings are like the daughter of a Congolese militant leader.
Right. But also. Where are the black faces in his administration, and where are the nominations?
Housing and urban development.
That really exactly. Right. That's why Ben Carson got that one. He's like, who should go there? Oh yeah, he makes it. Like Tim Scott, good job selling out everything. I mean, the guy when he originally ran way back when actually was sort of center right, sold out.
Right.
Trump sold out everything. How'd that work out for you, Tim? Clearly, he clearly this open-minded man who thinks you have as much talent, regardless of your skin color, has put you nowhere. Mm-hmm. So that worked well for you. Yeah.
And for me, there is it's crucial that we recognize, we become better at translating what they're actually saying, because I feel like I'm very anti-jargon. So that, and especially lately, I have watched us fall into a trap of, if somebody doesn't say the right shibboleth, if they don't have the right password, then they don't get in the club.
We turn on each other. Yes, I know.
Yep. And then the other folks that do use the right password, who are absolutely against everything that the Democratic Party stands for, certainly workers' rights, certainly healthcare and a social safety net, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you listen to the buzzwords that, from anti-war to, personal freedom and the right to love who you want to love and stuff. Russell Brand uses all those words in his
and he's a certified crazy person. So
yes, and he's a Votnik Trump suck.
Right, and we watch. I mean, that's one of their big talking points, is of the Taibbi Greenwald, Jimmy Dore crowd has been like, they're for, Tulsi used that too. They're for peace.
Yeah.
What does peace mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Neville Chamberlain was for peace. Pétain was for peace in Vichy, France. What does peace mean? If peace means Quisling was for peace in Norway, if it means you just hand over your country to somebody else, no, that's not peace.
No,
that's subjugation is what that
exactly. Yeah. And so this idea of like, when these people say they're anti-war, it's it's like somebody who's watching a sexual assault happening and not doing anything to stop it, saying they're anti-rape, because there's a rape involves two people. So I don't want to get on either side of this, except by stepping aside, I'm on the side of the perpetrator. Because that's what's happening in Ukraine.
That's actually a really good comparison, because by doing nothing, you are enabling the perpetrator.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Anytime there's a war of aggression or a fight of aggression, and you can do something about it, and you don't, you are tacitly on the side of the aggressor morally. You are allowing for it to happen. If you can do anything to stop it, that's your burden morally, not theirs.
There was a word for that, or a term for that during World War II. They were called good Germans.
Yeah. Right.
They were the ones who just went about their business. Can't see anything. I'm sure the Jews will be okay. I'm sure gays will be okay. Don't know what's going on, but I need to live my life every day and go to my job. It can't be
that bad.
Yeah.
Right. So my issue is that we need to own as much of it as we possibly can. And if we're going to do any homework about this, it will be about how do we avoid languaging and messaging, as we get better at it, from being weaponized against us to undermine our ethics? Because there are, one of the biggest movers in Republican circles as far as online messaging over the last 7 years, I would say, is Blair White, who's a trans woman. And it was incredibly effective messaging against Black Lives Matter and messaging against, all kinds of social programs.
Right? Richard Grenell. Right. They find a couple of exceptions among each group who are willing, the ones who would have turned everybody else in times in history. They find those couple people, and those are the messengers, right? Like the Brexit thing and all of that crap.
Yeah, which we wouldn't have had any problem attacking, but for and I guess, and again, this is our empathy and our ethics get weaponized against us in those situations. And you have to be able to, at least in the conversation, broom out those who are attacking you just for mislanguaging or while you're trying to deal with it, because you're not talking to somebody who's on board with the jargon. So you have to use different language to discuss with them the actual issue. And the other person will go, no, this is how you say it. This is how you message it. You can't say anything past this line, or you're buying into their argument. Every House Dem deals with these phone calls all day, every day. And and half of them, by the way, are fake. They're not even real. They're, they're puppet accounts and people calling in.
Think about what the right does on Twitter. Think about called in bomb threats. I mean, the vast majority of what the right does at this point, so the allies abroad, is not true.
The example I would give is around the trans issue. So let me say this clearly, that the fear that Republicans all talk about, men and women's sports, men and women's bathrooms, has nothing to do with trans people, because trans people are a class in and of themselves. What they are talking about, what they fear, is straight guys throwing on a dress and walking into the bathroom because there are gray areas in the law and nobody can get them out of there. And their fear is that somebody posing as a trans person, and some of them absolutely believe it's a mental illness and they don't believe in it. That's not the category we're talking about. But the overall, the general consensus, the thing that affected the law around it, has at its root nothing to do with a fear of trans people. It has a fear of gray areas in the law allowing rapey males to get away with a lot of stuff that brings them ever closer to their target of opportunity, whether it's snatching a kid or sexually assaulting someone.
This is why I've said we need to be able to have certain legitimate conversations about these things, about people reflexively.
And that shouldn't be on the backs of trans people, is my point. That conversation is not the burden of trans people. That's not their fault.
And that's a great way of
that there are
messaging
Matt
it.
Gateses and Donald Trumps and Jeffrey Epsteins and Joel Greenbergs out there, and even Mike Huckabee, who made repeated jokes like, if I'd have known in high school, all you had to do was call yourself a girl and put on a dress, and this was how they messaged it. I would have done it all during high school, because you could just go in there and peek over the stall and ask them if they got any paper, and they can't do anything.
Mike Huckabee, we've seen you. You were doing that all through high school anyhow.
Exactly. But you get my point, is that
yes,
in not being able to have the gray area conversation and deal with what these people are actually saying, which it unfairly burdens trans people with a conversation that has fuck all to do with them. It has to do with straight men and their proclivity towards sexual assault. That is a genuine concern.
Bring it
statistically
back to where it should be.
It is.
Al, you're exactly right.
You're not worried about men and women. You're not worried about trans women in sports. You're worried about men faking being trans in sports. Now, again, some of them believe that everybody's faking. That's their problem. That's not the vast majority of even Republican voters at this point. But the messaging got away because everybody was afraid of stepping on toes, when it shouldn't even be the burden of trans people to have to deal with this at all. We're not even talking about that.
People, but it also shouldn't be the burden of people that want to win elections to have to worry about the fact that you're going to get called out, you're going to get called a bigot, you're going to get, because if we focus on these issues, we allow them to define us, and as you pointed out, define us dishonestly, and then people end up hearing it from, and it's on Elon Musk's Twitter, which we now know the people saw his post 16 times as much as, I think it was all members of Congress combined, or whatever the hell it was, that figure that came today. He completely gamed all of that. So they're seeing it there. They've got that ad against Kamala Harris, which in its evil was sort of brilliant. There for they, them, and blah, 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 blah. And what we're doing then is, you need to have a quick response, as you did right there, and prepare what your response is to their crap. And then you immediately counterattack and take it back to where it goes. And the only thing where it needs to be. And the only thing I'm going to disagree with you about earlier, I get what you're talking about when you say, oh, well, some of it can start sounding like Illuminati or whatever, or this or that. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is, this isn't Illuminati. The richest man in the world, who spent $300 million telling absolute lies, different groups of people, the exact opposite stories, Jews and Muslims, blacks and whites, whatever, who weaponized Twitter to a ridiculous point of, again, where his posts are being seen much more than everybody's. This unelected billionaire is going into back rooms and making deals that affect our lives. That's not Illuminati. Like, that's fact.
No, I agree. But the idea that I agree. But the oligarch criticism that I would have is that it makes it seem like, even though there is monetary, up and down interests, I would argue, he's in direct competition with Jeff Bezos. He wouldn't even let Bezos sit at the dinner table without showing up himself, because he was afraid that Bezos would snatch his new toy out from under him with either promises or flattery or whatever, because Trump is such a dough-headed dipshit. And it's true. He is. And that's how you control him. So while are there oligarchical interests? Yes. But they are not unified any more than the pharmaceutical industry is all on the same side of each other, or they're not competing with each other, right? And that's my problem with the language.
When you look at the cabinet, when you look at, again, there's Mark Cuban, there's Warren Buffett, there's some good folks, and I always point that out. But when you look at his cabinet, when you look at the folks that have gotten behind him and get paid, I know you're a sci-fi guy, so maybe you'll appreciate it. I've compared it to the beginning scene of Flash Gordon, where they pay tribute to Ming the Merciless. Right? All of them have to go up the wingman and be like, if he doesn't like you, he just makes you come up to him and he stabs you and kills you. Right? They all have to pay their tributes. And all these billionaires, Jeff Bezos and Cook and the one at the LA Times, and all of them are paying their tributes. And I still think it is a legitimate message. It is the message that FDR used, which is, all of these, I don't remember the word he used. He may not say billionaires, but they are united in their hatred for me, and I welcome it. We should take on, because it is right in there now, that class of people. And to me, the face of that class, again, the thing about Trump is Musk, it's been so tough for us is he's got this weird animal charisma to the right. I may not understand it. You may not understand it, but it's clearly there. Nobody else has it, which is why the votes go way down for J.D. Vance, for Tom Cotton, for Ted Cruz. And another person who's just as bad when it comes to that Elon Musk literally can't get up on stage without cringe jumping up in the air like he's a little 12-year-old, acting like a weirdo, doesn't know how to interact with other humans. And he's evil and says evil things and nasty things about people all the time. His 47,000 kids, none of them talk to him except for maybe one or two. These are things to be weaponized and point out that this is the man really running the show.
Oh, I agree.
Unelected.
Again,
Make
that's
him the
specific
face of the whole damn thing.
Right. So I agree. Obviously, Musk is an obvious target and has muscled his way to the front line in the same way that I think we missed one of the targets in the last Trump administration, which was Wilbur Ross, who probably had more of a linear. Yeah, well, that's the thing. He was head of the Bank of Cyprus. He still had financial interest in the Bank of Cyprus. It is the single biggest, beside Deutsche Bank, the single biggest Russian money laundering organization in the world. And it is mainly the reason why Trump added troops in Syria when he did. And
magically, where Eric Prince had a couple of accounts. I think Eric Prince may have been on the board there, too. I'm not sure, but he definitely had money there.
I agree. I think there's nothing new about this. And I think one of the issues with like just talking in generic terms about quote unquote the oligarchy is that these assholes will fight amongst themselves. And Cuban's done a great job of it. But Bezos is trying to muscle his way past Elon Musk, and he's less douchey and he's more charming and he's got a more stable business, and Amazon is used by way more people than Tesla is. And again, I don't welcome what favors they might carve off for themselves. That's a point of concern. That's what the House and the Senate is for, and why we need to be focused on races there and building up our sort of intellectual war chest again. But I don't think for a second that these interests align so purely that they can
and that may be true. But I would also argue then again, those folks give a face to monopoly, which is the other thing that the bigger object, even before these people got as wealthy as they did, that has been killing us, has been strangling our economy and destroying us for 20, 30 years now. I mean, Walmart, how many local stores went out of business and were destroyed? Amazon, how many bookstores? I mean, I just think that the argument needs to be made on a pretty serious level. We started with that crap that under Reagan, believing in the Chicago School of Business efficiency model. And we had, for 50 years, we had broken apart these monopolies. People had choices. There was competition. Workers were treated better. The environment was treated better. All these kinds of things that don't happen when you've got 3 companies or 6, in the case of media, controlling 80% of what's out there. And I absolutely think a pivoting, because everybody running for Senate and running for Congress can somehow point to local monopolies that are screwing their workers. And I just think, to me, a key part of this message has to be around monopolies and these unelected, very, very wealthy billionaires who are running the Trump administration. But I mean, you can disagree. Yeah. I mean, honestly, feel free to disagree.
No, my only issue is like, how does that land on the general ears of the general public? And like most of them don't know in general that PepsiCo, I think it is, owns Taco Bell and Del Taco, right? They own both. Right. They own both the places they go to, and they go, I prefer this over that. I'm like, yeah, that's micromanaging a single brand through 2 different storefronts, but it's the same company. The reality is that in this country, for example, what they'll say is to the Walmart story. I remember when Walmart came on the scene and started bulldozing mom and pops, and that became the talking point in the 90s for a lot, because it was
they were one of the first.
Putting a lot of, and it wasn't the mom and pop small stores that were going out of business as much as it was the like the middle of the road.
Yeah. With the bigger, like some of the somewhat big, not huge, but bigger ones before.
Yeah, what was there was Montgomery Ward's. So Montgomery Ward's and Kmart were both largely were structurally a tier down from your average Walmart. They were about a half to a third the size, but generally the same kind of like general store of clothing, impulse buys, a little bit of like whatever electronics we had at the time, Walkmans and headphones and some of that stuff. But it was a generalized store. And more than the little single shops, it was decimated by Walmart. Walmart rolled in and blew those out of the water, sometimes sucking up effectively the Kmart store, turning it into a Walmart, which is what happened.
I know. Sometimes they just took over the space and were like, ours.
Yeah, they just bought it out.
It's like Germany and going into Sudetenland, you know? Right.
And the irony being, I would suppose, that initially the concerns were that they would be a monopoly in all these places. And I and most of my liberal-leaning friends will do everything in our power, except under the worst duress, only grocery store in 100 miles, food desert situation.
I think I've been in a Walmart like 2 or 3 times in my life.
Right.
And it was because
Me
we were
too.
so desperate and there was literally nothing within,
That's right.
Yeah.
So Walmart, right. Walmart, I mean, it's obviously
just walking in there.
Yeah. And meanwhile, where does most people on our side of the aisle go when they want a Walmart-like store? They go to Target.
Costco, maybe?
Well, Costco is the bulk
Costco
version, but
pays their people much better, treats their workers much better. I believe it gives them health care. But these
as does Target. And the prices are reflected in that. So that
you can make sure people know. That's what I mean. Again, it's much harder with our smaller microphone because, again, not to rip on our own billionaires, but for some reason I've sat around for 20 or 30 years and watched this hydra grow on the right, not just in media, but in cultural organizations, legal organizations, whatever, and been like, all right.
So what you're really talking about,
matters.
if we boil it down to it, what you really boil it down to is that they have activist billionaires and we don't. That there's a lot of either laissez-faire or, quite frankly, some of them don't want to get into the trap of a purity test themselves, so they lay off and stay out of it. They're either on the right where there's this don't give a fuck attitude that they can get away with, right? Or they, or they stay out of it. It's bad for business to even be involved in politics. We'll just, we'll do every holiday and we'll do a pride thing or whatever, but it's more perfunctory. A lot of it's imaging more than reality. There's not a lot of depth to it.
And then Republicans start getting pissed at them even for that, right? Oh my God, Disney, you allowed a black princess. I mean, like eventually, if they need issues, they're going to go after these companies even on that.
They'll find them anyways. I agree. I agree. But you can see how this water boiled the frog is my point. This didn't happen overnight. And it was
like anything else. Absolutely right.
Yeah, it's like the version of Death by 1,000 Cuts, but it's like Dumb by 1,000 Hammer Hits. Like the whole lot of lumps dog in the old Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Party, but yes,
ding, 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 ding. I'll do it myself, right? So the issue that I have and why I will get away from again, even our oligarchical, our billionaires with oligarchical desires. Don't actually interact with the government in a fundamentally kind of Putin-esque way like theirs does. And there is a distinction because Trump's entire cabinet that he's putting in there thinks Bill Gates needs to be hung at Guantanamo. Are fairly certain they want Jeff Bezos shot as a traitor.
Right. But you have to remember there were
kidding.
Billionaires. Was it Khodorkovsky or whoever who spoke out against Putin too and were thrown into prison? Or I'm just saying there is some of that, Hal. So I get what your point about, it's not all of them, but it is, and maybe we need to sit down and do an analysis, but it is a lot of them. I would think it's the majority of them. And,
well, here's the thing. This would be my question then. Okay. Trump is coming in, he's a dough-headed simp who just likes flattery. And you have an option in this situation. Flattery. Yeah, as opposed to fattery.
I'm being an asshole. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. He's like this. You also know he is very easy to manipulate. Putin had him wrapped around his finger, super easy, and a lot of it was just glad-handing. Xi Jinping got so much out of the United States just by like clapping when Trump entered the room, and Trump's like, "Wow, world leaders!" Like he just posted.
Open a bank account there.
Yeah, he posted last night. Everyone wants to be my friend. Remember that? Think about that for a second. First of all,
tell you the ultimate mindset of a deeply, deeply damaged, insecure loser. I don't know what
person,
else.
right?
Like, people really.
I agree.
They love me. They really love me.
Believe me, I have nothing nice to say about the man, nor will I. But I can see how certain people around him, or even in media, go, oh, this dopey head, if you just pat him on the back, he'll leave you alone.
You're right.
And then you can start criticizing him and boil his frog. And there's a strategy to that. And I think this, the idea of fueling what was effectively the rise of MAGA by being a direct contrast is it plays into their game because it's a polarity game they're running, and they don't conceptually understand anything that isn't an on and off switch. Anything that's in the middle drives them into a paranoid frenzy. That's why they're attacking Mike Johnson today over a bipartisan bill that they're taking the lead on. Because if it's either
I agree with you. My concern, though, is I think you're right in what these billionaires or various, I mean, they are billionaires, but whatever, various corporate heads are doing with here's $1 billion, here's $1 million, here's $1 million. But what they don't get, and you're right, in the moment, it is so easy to cajole Donald Trump into anything. We've all heard about that, right? The last one, everybody wanted to be the last one in the room with them because they figured they'd convince them of their policy because it's so easy. You look great today. Your piss cotton candy hair really seems to have come out well.
Right.
But the problem is that he also is somebody who has shown time and time again, Jeff Sessions, Mo Brooks, what's his face, Brian Kemp, that the minute you don't do what he wants, that he thinks he needs, he will turn on you and destroy you in a second. Right?
Well, I agree. But he already has. So you don't have to worry about that setup part of it because he's already got enough targets. He'll never get to the bottom of them. And it won't affect you really anyways.
Well, I'm not worried about
agreed. But it will also won't affect
people that are kissing
let's say Bezos
right
or Mark Cuban or Joe and Mika or whatever, like that ridiculousness. I've never been a fan. They're part of the reason we have this idiot is because they would bring them on.
Excuse yet this week for why they went down? They seem to be on a solid once a week bullshit fest about why they went down. I'm hoping maybe.
It's so stupid. But the point I'm trying to make is that I can see, and I have to take a wait and see attitude with some of these folks who, if you're looking at Musk and the power that he could possibly have and his mentality and his idiocy and him and Vivek Ramaswamy kind of teaming up with this stupid Doge thing. And you're like, if I just come out against it, they're so burrowed in like a tick that everything I say going forward will be rejected. So we'll have dinner, oh yeah, it's great. And then I
understand your point.
Your criticism lands. And it actually, because here's the thing, do you want progress or not? And in some cases, that's what it's going to take. And I would, even if, again, I have no love lost between me and Jeff Bezos, let's say. But if he becomes a parallel
you guys don't party
irritant,
together?
Not so far. I never get invited to the Diddy parties. I don't know why. Maybe because I would walk around with a cinder block killing everyone. But
maybe you had this weird rule, like I would like women that I spend time with.
Yes,
to
be their consensual
age of stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a weird tick that I have. But the point I'm trying to
very strange.
The point I'm trying to make is that there's value in he has corresponding and conflicting goals with Elon Musk. Jeff Bezos does, for example. So does Mark Cuban ultimately. So does anybody that other dipshit on Shark Tank who never makes a good decision.
The old loud guy who that guy's such a dick. My God.
Oh my God. So all those people, instead of just saying us against them, oligarch, blah, 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 because that tends to codify that belief system both ways. Like if these motherfuckers hate me, they hate Musk for what he's doing, but they hate me just for being similar to him in an economic strata, then why am I putting myself out? Why am I endangering my fortune? Why am I endangering my company by siding with these folks? Ultimately, if they're not even going to appreciate me and they want to burn my shop down in the first place,
I understand. But maybe you just make it about Musk then. I mean, you really easily could.
Right. And what you want to do
is, man. I mean, of all of them, he's the single richest one. He's easily the most vocal and stupid and embarrassing
and the most vulnerable
and gauche one. I'm sorry?
And the most vulnerable one. Vulnerable one. Because he doesn't have a single company that exists except Twitter without a government contract. And that's Twitter, and it's a dump. And so what I'm trying to say is you don't have to like Jeff Bezos to pretend you do and support this kind of like duopoly fight between these assholes. And that's what will happen because they are dealing in huge numbers. They believe in these things. And if we, again, just this like us against them mentality and what we're doing just creates a blur. If you can't pick out the traits in someone that are better than somebody else's, then there is no reason to listen to you.
Then I would say, honestly, make it about Elon. There may be one or two others,
Yes.
because obviously Peter Thiel is, Peter Thiel, I'm sorry, he's not as infamous, but the dude wants to live forever. That's his obsession. And we know that we're going to be the experiments in that. So, I mean, that guy is so creepy and whatever. He can be turned into
I mean, there's a very strong chance he's just going to have a card. Yeah, he's just going to have a cardiac arrest from all the stimulants he does. But but what I'm saying is you don't actually have to like Jeff Bezos to make Musk think you do and drive him fucking crazy. And so social media, if they're going to talk about like the manipulation of things, you want to talk about like a no harm, no foul process is like, if everybody became a Blue Origin stan all of a sudden, Trump would chase that because the public likes it, and Musk would grind his teeth in his sleep. And it won't affect, the material world. I'm very pro NASA overall. I give a shit, again, Boeing and Lockheed Martin. There's been a lot of companies involved in helping NASA along the way. And the people at SpaceX aren't Musk necessarily, but he is the face of it. So making him the face of it and then setting him against other people and just from a preferential standpoint is a strategy that will become an irritant. And it doesn't take much because these guys' egos are so weak.
Well, I was going to say also, we can't forget also the fact that it's not, among not just the billionaires there, but part of being MAGA, part of being this right wing and supporting this kind of idiocy is you generally have what one would kindly call a very dysregulated personality. Okay.
Yes.
There's a reason why they have trouble getting along with other people and they're fighting amongst themselves. And who the hell knows? We don't even know at this point if JD Vance is in like a car trunk somewhere being, Breaking Bad style, being driven out to New Mexico to being taken care of.
Right.
We haven't seen him in I don't know how long. Point is that there's competition among all of them, and he's wealthy too, but even the non-wealthy ones, even the Stephen Millers and the other people who want Trump's ear and want to be more important. You had a fight with a few of these guys breaking out. So just encourage the fractures as much as possible.
Yep. Exactly. And grouping them all together just makes you seem like, again, a nihilistic dump as opposed to
gotcha. I still think Musk should be the whatever you want your term to be, the billionaire monopolistic face of. Whatever.
Agreed. But he should also be seen as and we're talking about like messaging and kind of, the strategy of messaging in this. But I think he should be viewed as not just like an American oligarch, but a wannabe. Because again, if you're going to talk about somebody, how you talk about him either feeds into their mythology or undermines it. He's a wannabe.
You're right about what you're talking about. Make sure to point out all of the government subsidies. Make sure to point out that the ideas for these companies weren't his. Make sure to point out all of the various legal trouble that he's gotten into. Yeah. I mean, he's a clown.
And again, since Trump is a clout chaser, once his clout starts to diminish in any way, or he embarrasses him a couple times, like you were talking about earlier, as soon as it goes south, he turns on somebody. Believe me, the closer you are and the bigger it is, the harder it may be for Trump to jettison at first. And he'll hate it because he can't fire you, and if you're not around him, and he's not, Elon Musk is Musk.
If you're on a fake commission that doesn't really do anything anyhow, it's kind of hard.
Right, that's right. So, to me, that's a crucial part of this conversation. Go
ahead. No,
if we're overly broad, we have no impact.
I'm just saying right now, you need to personalize it. You always do with this stuff. You need to, you're telling stories. There's a good guy, there's a bad guy. You need to personalize it. But in this case, you have this little weak, wussy, Mike Johnson who sits there, monitors his son's adult entertainment choices. And I'm sure he hates that and, doesn't sit there all day doing that. But, and he's being basically, Musk has just told him, I own you. And I think these are the kinds of fractures you need to push out there. And this is where Musk, you can still turn into yes, he's a big gorilla. He's an idiot. But right now, he has that ability. He has that money. He has their ear. Doesn't make him great. It just means he's the one who's embarrassing this little pathetic Mike Johnson. And I just think, again, if you push Elon Musk's name out there enough, Donald Trump gets jealous and vice versa, and just play up all of those divides.
Yep.
But I think you could do that now, and I still think a midterm message can still be about, the
Agreed.
The ultra wealthy who are, who work for Trump, who make decisions that we have no control over, that are unelected. Like, I still think that can be a message because it really happens to be true. So,
Absolutely, I agree. And again, I'm a big believer in actually, a genuine strategy in a lot of these things, because I feel like we in our chasing the polarity, there's this view that Republican messaging was so successful because it was so simple and easy to understand. The problem we have as Democrats is that that's automatically exclusionary. That's the issue, is that simple, easy to understand messages by design eliminate large swaths of people that should be part of the conversation at all. Right. And if we're going to be the party of nuance and context and inclusion and diversity and caring about these kind of things, then that has to be part and parcel to how we do it. And so a fear of complexity is their problem, not ours. And it can't be. We should be able to deal with the complex issues because we actually give a shit, and we don't have to barrel everything down into this like rubber stamp thing. And that will throw a monkey wrench in their messaging.
Repetition. We do need to
but it's got to be about concepts like ethics and fearlessness and caring and empathy and those kind of things.
We need to blow that up, and we needed to have a larger liberal infrastructure. So, because part of the reason that Trump's messaging got out there is very simply when everybody from Russian state media to Twitter to every right-wing organ outlet, local Sinclair, local talk radio, online, whatever, is repeating it verbatim. When we've got like half of that, if we're lucky, that's a problem. That is going to be a problem.
I agree. And so what I'm looking at is how we discuss these things in a productive way that actually gets the result we're seeking, as opposed to just a generalized self-righteous sense of satisfaction that we yelled at the right person.
No, I'm in the same way. But I do think, there are certain people like Musk that when it comes to, they're going to cut Social Security, they're going to cut Medicare, they're going to cut your Obamacare, so they can pocket the money. He's the evil guy with the monocle in, who you can very much turn into the one who wants to pocket your Social Security check. Right.
Agreed. And I again, if you can set these people against each other, you have a better chance of growing, that media infrastructure. Like, oh shit, if Musk is going to come for, some Mark Cuban or somebody, Mark Cuban's going to want to have a bunch of like online warriors out there that he might give some support to on occasion to run interference on these things, because Putin's got plenty of them. Trump's got Truth Social and the maggot brigade, and Elon Musk has all of his Twitter bots and the like. There's got to be
the bots, and then there's some actual real ones that are just such sad people.
It's amazingly pitiful. So it's important to me that we get our act together without sacrificing our empathy and our true beliefs,
absolutely.
And the way that happens is you get hamstrung by it, is that you're so agreeable and nice about something that you let people, and you can see this across the board and how people are reacting. You can argue that that's the reaction to the Luigi Mangione situation, is people feel so trodden upon that they will jettison their true ethics and scream like a crowd of Jacobins off with his head.
Right.
Which is antithetical to everything that, sacrifice that person for my feeling of that. Maybe if we kill him, or we're okay with killing him, these other people will get the message. And that in and of itself, that's how we were forever. That's how kings rise. That's how Mongols take over big swaths of Europe and rape people out of existence. I talked about that
earlier. Yes. I mean, look, that's always been why one of the reasons I've been involved in the issue of guns, is just simply because if we're going to solve everything with everybody walking around shooting each other, again, we had a period of time like this, the last period of time when we, the Gilded Age, when we had this much disparity, although it wasn't even as bad then. I mean, McKinley was assassinated by an anarchist. There were bombs going off on Wall Street. Like
Skarsgård, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this,
who, by the way, did it for a chick. He did it because he fell in love with.
There was some of that too. There always is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this will reach that kind of a place if Trump comes in and exacerbates the wealth disparity to the point where there are people that are who lose certain benefits they need and are desperate. It doesn't matter whether I want it to happen, don't want it to happen. The fact that I want things to be solved at the ballot box, whatever, it will happen because history tells you from the Russian Revolution to the French Revolution to a whole lot of other crap, frankly, our own revolution, that when you feel trod upon by a dictatorial force, guess what happens? That's what happens.
And I would argue that one of the things that, this is the ramification in some ways of not having a public option. That everybody who fought against a public option in the ACA bears some responsibility for the ratchet up. While they're not responsible for the death itself, they're responsible for the sentiment around it.
You're right. And I've said the whole time also, again, they could not act like this. This is why not giving Medicare the right to bulk negotiate. These things are called capitalism. And if you actually do believe in capitalism, you believe that negotiating, is the best way to
prime aspect. That's how the market works, right?
That's what happens to these private healthcare companies. If you've got a great public option, you can choose. Suddenly, CEOs aren't going to get paid $20 million a year. Suddenly, they're not going to have the corporate plane and all the garbage. Suddenly, they're not going to waste billions on paperwork and stupid stuff they don't care about because they'll just pass the cost on to you. Well, if they do that, you'll go with the public option. Not them. That I fully believe they should be allowed to exist, but we shouldn't have to rely upon them. They should have to compete and win us.
We have public schools and public schools and private schools. You have public universities, private universities. You have public security and cops. You have cops and private security rather. You have even I guess technically, a myriad of issues where you're doing that.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
You take public transportation, you can have a car. And that option is available in every other aspect except healthcare in this regard, unless you're in the army or, in the military.
Right. You get the great veteran system, which is as, socialist as it gets.
Or you have a federal union system, which they are trying to get into this bill that Trump just killed. The CR would add Congress people and senators to the federal healthcare plan, which is so ironic that
he killed it. So Trump did something good.
Yeah. Well, and there is a what was the other one? There's so many things in this where the raise. So they negotiated their first raise since I think 2009 or something like that. Right. And they did it obviously because Doge is going to cut their pay. That's what they're worried about. So Republicans put this in.
Of course. The ones who believe in low spending, of course, did that.
And bless his heart, but Aaron Rupar said today, he's Congress shouldn't get paid as long as the government's shut down or something like that. And my problem with that is that gives all the leverage to rich members of Congress. Because what do they care? They don't give a shit. You can squeeze the AOCs
they don't need the congressional salary. So
till anybody who doesn't need their congressional salary has all the leverage in that situation. All of it.
You made a great point. Yeah, that is a very, very good point.
And they would use it. They would absolutely use it.
Yeah, but frankly, I think I don't care if the government gets shut down. As far as I'm concerned, fine, shut down the operation of parks and this and that. But I still think every one of those workers should have to be paid. As far as I'm concerned.
Well, and again,
that's to me a bunch of crap. Like you want to shut everything down and make it so that our government doesn't function, but you don't get to just take away paychecks from people that are working day to day, in the bureaucracy in various parts of the government.
Right.
My opinion.
Well, the issue you have there is that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy aren't going to miss a dessert while any of this happens.
No. And Vivek Ramaswamy clearly isn't going to miss that hair gel that poofs his hair up 3 inches.
Sure. So. Well, look, style before substance, I think is job one at MAGA. Did you see Trump's new haircut?
No, Tony was talking to me about that earlier, and I haven't seen it yet. Does it look like Kim Jong Il or Un?
No,
or
it's exactly. It's Christopher Lloyd's haircut from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh my God!
It's exactly that.
Trump's. Hold on, give me a second.
New haircut.
New haircut. Oh wow! Is that real? Oh my gosh!
Now here's the thing: he got a big haircut. He's going bald in the front, like all the way to the middle of his head, and he got a haircut, and it's sweaty, so it's back because it was in a hat. So I don't know that it's a style. I just think he just forgot that he looks like shit for a moment.
That's probably it.
Yeah, but whatever. Again. What's this dude's ego fade going to be like? And again, do you think that, let's say something happens to him before they're able to get this tax cut passed? Do you think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and JD Vance are going to convince the electorate that they got it from here?
Yeah.
Dude is a mess.
No, I mean, again, Trump is a complete mess, screw up, this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
Still, for whatever reason, has this weird charisma appeal to the right that allows him to get certain things done that like get elected this time that none of these other guys could do. So
yeah,
I don't think that tax cut, it's not happening if he's out.
Agreed. I mean, and you could look at like he'll start yelling at the Fed. He's got to start rounding up every person of Hispanic descent in Texas until Abbott starts to squeal, and then there's no food processing. The price of eggs triples and all that stuff because they don't have a plan.
He's got dairy farms in the Midwest too.
Totally. And again, I don't. It's sad because I don't want to root for these things. Because people are going to be impacted. People are really going to be affected by this shit. And I don't want the Schadenfreude kind of pleasure of watching as MAGA towns eat the brunt of this. I mean, the first three attacks in of the budget, the first three attacks Vivek Ramaswamy did in his statement on Shitter was two out of the three. One was disaster relief, and the other two were farmers. The renewal of the farm bill, and then farm subsidies. And he was like,
you may have seen Tom Tillis already stood up. Tom Tillis, North Carolina, already stood up and said, "We better get our damn money for the hurricane that hit us or whatever." After Ramaswamy said that, so that's another fun fight that.
Yeah, go for it. And again,
enjoy. This
isn't something even Democrats have to fight for. This is something that Republicans are going to have to work out amongst themselves because we didn't there wasn't a Democrat that stood up and went, well, if we're going to cut something, let's start with disaster funds for North Carolina.
No, he's going to have to fight the Trump administration. I wish him luck. He can enjoy himself.
Right, exactly. And I
feel sorry for people, innocent people that get hurt in these places, just as you.
That's right.
But I can separate the feeling sorry for the innocent people, and if it happens anyhow and I can't stop it, making sure to take extreme pleasure in the guy who, because they do it, his farm gets shut down and he voted for Trump and he's now screwed. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of that.
Yeah. Well, and again, the Republicans themselves are going to kind of have to answer to each other on this stuff because it's their constituents that will get hit the worst. Blue states pay for the red states. And if you start cutting the budget, the states that benefit the most are blue states because they already have a substructure to protect their citizens. They have good disaster relief. The California
things like taxes and
SEMA, the California Emergency Management Agency, the New York, the NYEMA or whatever, the New York Emergency Management Agency. They're as strong as FEMA by itself half the time. most of the time, FEMA just coordinates their efforts. If they're getting federal funds, that's all FEMA does in California or New York in these situations. And so, but when it comes to the Carolinas or Arkansas or any place where tornadoes hit, that's all FEMA, federal workers flown in from someplace else.
Good luck. I mean, again, there are other natural disasters and horrible things that happen in blue states. Is obviously you get you get earthquakes where you are in LA and whatever. But when it comes to these hurricanes, they sometimes get up far north enough to hit New York and harm, blue states. But for the most part, they're going to be destroying everything from like Texas on over, along the southern border and then up the East Coast. And then a few interior states, which will be like Kentucky and Tennessee and Arkansas, and and like, okay, that's what you voted for. So good luck.
And again, as the prices start to go up, like they'll start trying to, I don't know, blame the Fed or somebody, but it's not going to work.
And maybe the Republicans will try to feed them just a conspiracy theory or something ludicrous, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
The ghost of Tip O'Neill.
It's Klaus, the ghost of Klaus Schwab. Yeah.
There you go. So, I mean, there will be some of that.
Yeah.
What else? You have anything else cool to talk about?
Well, I have this. No, I'm never all talked out. I've got my show at 4:00 today, Pacific time. And then I'm on the road starting tomorrow for the holidays again. And you and I will get to meet in person, have a little sit down, hopefully both on camera and off. I'd love to have a, meal
live
with you.
One from here. And, so are you going to be, are you doing it like when you say on the road show? Like, are you doing stand up at all or other rock and roll?
No. It's just the holidays. It's just
holiday on the road. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Taking my son to on the annual parade past the relatives. So like, see, still amazing, still a great
How
kid.
Old's your son?
Okay, next, 13.
Okay,
yeah,
a little bit younger than my guys. You're 18 and 15, but they might be able to hang out and have some fun time.
I think so. My kid is. It should surprise no one. Very bright and mature for his age. So and a gentleman and a scholar.
But of course.
Yeah. So I look forward to that. I think that'd be a great idea. Although my dad, his grandfather, always wants, like, he can't wait for me to like go to the gym or something when I'm visiting for the holidays so that they can have like grandpa grandson time, sit around, whittling and stuff like that. So
yes, you can sit down working on
it's Kentucky, man.
Railroad track spikes into the ground, and the kind of cool stuff we do in Ohio.
Fretting banjos, right? Doing mother of pearl banjo inlays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's huge. And anybody squealing like a pig, it was completely incidental.
Yeah, it is absolutely. That's the wrong side of Kentucky. That's Eastern Kentucky, but we'll get into that later.
I know the difference. I remember I told you I met my wife when I was working against McConnell, living in Louisville. So. I know, sadly, like in a scary way, and I've done a bunch of campaigns in Kentucky. I know the geography well. We went up into what was it, Butcher Holler, or one of the ones up in far up in Hazard County, up in East, up in the Appalachian, just to see what it was like. I mean, I felt like I was traveling the way you would travel to a different country. Because the way people live up there, it's insane.
Hey, man, time travel is possible. You just have to get on the wrong Greyhound bus.
Yeah, that's
you can go 30
right?
years in the past. You can go 50 years in the past if you take the right one into like Eastern Kentucky. It's amazing.
You absolutely can.
Yeah, and we're not quite at the tribes that have never met humanity yet, but not far from that. It's been a while.
Right. It's like Papua New Guinea or something. Like you're discovering a new people.
Right.
So you've got your stream from 4 to 6 East Coast time.
Yep.
Cool.
And that is always it's always a matter of opinion, I think, on what stuff we will end up covering. But a lot of it lately has been just like this dipshittery around drones, where and my favorite part yesterday, and if people want to go back and watch the stream or the clips from that, but where Megyn Kelly had Adam Carolla on it, or Jimmy Tercel, as I like to call him, that they were both on talking about how they don't trust the federal government and there's radioactive material on the loose. That's what they're doing. They're seeking these, they're flying grids across New Jersey looking for lost nuclear material, which of course is 2 pins from a CAT scan machine that were shipped over from overseas and weren't in the box when they arrived. Which, by the way,
my theory is this is just a floating migrant caravan that made it over from Honduras. I mean,
there were, do you know how many? You know how many of the migrant caravans made it to the southern Mexican border? Of all the ones that we saw that made it to the southern Mexico border, not ours, but theirs. No, there 6 made it to the southern Mexico border. The 0 is the number that made it to our border.
Well, the southern Mexican border is somewhat far away from.
It's very far. It's really
called
far.
a hell of a trip. And caravans, I mean, I'm just saying, here we are again with the drones and the whatever and the conspiracy theories. And then it originally started where some idiot saw something and then, the maggots
candy-shaped fentanyl. It's the same shit.
It just allows them to get clicks and all that. So they couldn't give two craps. They're going to blow it all up. It's liberal aliens coming from Uranus.
Clearly.
To take over.
And they could stay there. So, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. Do what you got to do. So, so that, but obviously part of that will come up, no doubt. But there are, people are like the FAA had to issue a ban on, like consumer drones around, New Jersey for the time being, just so and it'll all go away. The minute isn't just like dipshits going, watch how everybody freaks out, which is exactly what it is. Like this low rent trolling bullshit that people are doing with drones. But
it'll be another story like the other ones that within 2 weeks of going away, no one will remember it happened. Like it'll just be gone, and we'll move on to the next stupid thing.
Right? Yeah. It's and again, maybe that's a strategy we can exploit because Republicans tend to be, cat with a laser pointer, dog with a car, and if you can set them loose on some stuff, maybe that's how we start. Weaponizing their idiocy if they've got no empathy.
I think you're right. And we should be doing that constantly and turning it on each other because there's so many natural cracks in that ridiculous coalition.
Absolutely. So. All you got to do is exploit them by pointing them out. We don't even have to drive a wedge between these people. They already have the wedges. They're just pretending they don't exist so they can suck up to Trump right now. Right. And even then, it ain't going to last because a lot of these people aren't in hard red districts in the House, especially, and they need to get reelected and shutting the government down. Even Maria Bartiromo said this morning, like, it doesn't make the GOP look very good. That's 2 days before the thing, right? So I got to say, you're right. It makes them look like assholes, and we should exploit that, like as much as possible.
Like Maria for some of the things,
right? Oh my God. How is it possible that I have a laptop?
She's making millions on CNBC and voluntarily was like, nah, I think I'm going to become a crazy person and lose all respect people have for me and go over to Fox. That was a good call. Good call by her.
Yeah, brilliant. And then I am eternally grateful to her for being the one person who probably cost Fox News more money in that lawsuit with Dominion than any other, because her show was the primary point where Trump said all his stuff and she parroted it every week. Other people were tiptoeing around this garbage, right? And playing footsie with it, but she was flat out saying it, and she didn't get fired. Tucker did because he was on at an hour people watched. She's on Sunday mornings, so nobody cares. And so she kept her job, and he got fired over what largely she said.
It's great. And earlier than that,
fabulous.
It was an earlier cycle, I feel like, that it was the late, great, to quote Trump, Lou Dobbs, who was doing that, and he suddenly got appeared from the network, too. For all the crazy that he was sharing that was going to get them sued. And it is a wonderful world that we inhabit. So cool. So you're going to get here. I'm going to be able to start hanging with you at some point in the next couple of days.
I love that idea. Sometime between now and Christmas.
I've already got like the Laverne and Shirley bike ready that Hal and I are going to climb on.
That's right. Awesome. We're gonna do the WKRP drive around the city, filming the angles with our phones. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch a couple of pigeons.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're gonna play the music in the background. We're doing it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, love that idea. Awesome. Cool, thanks for having me. I don't think I ever gave you an exact time to stay on. And I know that you're a talented talker, so I wasn't really worried. But I didn't expect that you would give me an hour and 25 minutes. So you are a prince among men. This is true. And God knows if I didn't have family FaceTime coming up and then my own show that I have to prep for, I would stay on all afternoon. So I can only imagine what our in-person hang will be like. Imagine you and I getting to talk without a delay.
I know that's messed me up. I mean, I've gotten enough criticism for interruptions, which I take to heart, and I know I do too much.
Sure.
I have a big mouth, yes. But on your show, it's even tougher because for whatever reason, there's that 1 second delay. And sometimes I feel like you've stopped and then I try to jump in and I'm like, oh crap, I'm just completely.
I stomped on it again. Damn it.
Yes. So,
right.
So my apologies.
Yeah, not at all. Again, this is part of actually trying to have a real conversation. So absolutely.
There are things I said that I was going to have to reach out to you, chat with you on the phone. We can do that, or we can wait till you get here. Some strategic things, some show things, some whatever. Up to you. But because I know you may be busy all today. It sounds like, and then you're leaving, right? So
yeah, I've got travel time tomorrow. We'll touch base because I have a long layover between flights.
Where you stuck?
So. In interim, that's all I'll say. I'd rather not say the location for what it's worth. But
no, that's fine. That's fine.
A place that used to be worse to be stuck, but is now better. So hopefully that explains it. That's all I'm
LaGuardia. Cool. I'm just kidding.
Right. Damn it. All right. Anyways, much love, brother. Thanks for having me on, and I will see you soon.
You're awesome, bud. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Take it easy, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there you go, Hal. I could remove you or you could remove you. I decided I wanted to let you do that. See you soon, brother. Folks, I hope you enjoyed that. The great Hal Sparks, the always enjoyable Hal Sparks. Talking to him is fun. At that point, I don't even know what the hell to say anymore because that is a ride. That is a roller coaster ride talking with that guy. I think we're mostly there. I love that that people seem to be so stoked about what we did yesterday, which was going to become an increasingly important part of this show, which is, hey, what was your first show? And we got into all the rock and roll, and that was like an hour yesterday. And again, there are times I just need to do that for my sanity. We're gonna have plenty of political discussions. You know that. I know that. But there are other things I love, and I really would like this to be a community where people are like, all right, rock shows today. We're going to talk about that great cinematic, streaming series one day. Dogs and cats living together. I know that came from one day, but we can really do all of that. Donald's new haircut. See, I'm still from 56 Nick Rich. I'm still a learner in this process. You're lucky Hal is so smart at technology. Tony is pretty much too. I will soon learn how to show you. Let me share what Jim is sharing here. So you all go follow Hal because he's awesome. Go subscribe to his YouTube too. He hasn't put as much kind of effort into that part of it because he's doing so many things, but he's close to 80,000. Let's get him at least over 80 on the way to 100. That would be fantastic. He deserves it. He's a terrific dude. I did see we got a couple. I may have missed some. Cadillac, you've gifted 2 different times 5 new memberships. So that's 10. I can do math. Awesome. I thank you so much. Locomotion, love Hal and Cliff. Thank you for loving me and for loving Hal. I'm sure he would say that. Here's one of your $5 member, 5 gift, memberships, which is awesome. Eva Wilburn, I showed you before, or Ava, however you pronounce that. I will try to find that out. We're going to have a part of our Patreon and other stuff where folks are interested and are willing to help me out. We can even do some Zooms where we can have like a bunch of folks, but we won't let it get crazy so nobody can talk. So we'll separate it out. I can get to know you guys. You can get to know me. Life is crazy. My friend Proverbs 31:25, which I think more about the Bible than the average non-believer, but I do not know what that specific one is. He thought Bezos would steal his husband. I'm not sure who you were talking about when you said that earlier. Trump? Could it be Kash Patel? Could it be Mike Johnson? Don't know. But I appreciate so much that you were kind enough to do that. And we have my friend WW. Pretty amazing that you can guard your language when needed. If you're talking to me, yeah, I've had to be careful. I did swear a few times, but it seems like they don't care as much about that if you don't do it in the first 10 to 20 minutes, because then, you know, the youngins aren't accidentally watching. It is tough though, but I used to have to go on. I still go on Stephanie Miller and Matt McNeil in Minneapolis, some FCC programs. So I have to do that. You know, if I want them to monetize me, but I hate all the other stuff you're not allowed to talk about. Let's say the RFK Jr. kind of stuff, whatever, the conspiratorial stuff where they're like, oh, you know, and you can't talk about it in an honest way because they'll think that you're making up a conspiracy. You know, the first time and only time my channel was ever suspended, not for a full week, because I went after, you know, I reached out to them on Twitter, went after them in other places, like, what the hell, was when there was a election conspiracy and I debunked it. And they made the mistake of thinking through their AI that I was sharing it when I was debunking it, and I got suspended. That's annoying as hell. So, you know, doing the new math on our new setup. Again, I've told you guys, Patreon and the YouTube memberships are going to become, you know, Grand Central Station, let's call it, the central part of this, along with the YouTube. So anybody who can throw me a membership here at the end, give it a try for a month. See if you like it, because we're changing things. I would love to leave with something, or, you know, don't make me do it. It also could be a super chat. It could be a super sticker. It could be all of the above. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Don't make me leave with this goldfish. Who's it going to be? Come on, guys. Seriously, tough work here. Need support. You know, I think 3 days in a row doing... One that was 2 hours and 20 minutes, 3 days in a row doing 2 hours of these, then taking shorter video clips that I can cut from them from my rants at the beginning to make those separate videos, then creating other separate videos, then looking around and I've fallen down on this and I need to get into it, creating shorts. That's going to take even more of my time. I love this, I do, but it is a lot of work. And again, you know, it's not something I need to do. It's something I do because I believe strongly in this. I like you guys. I like having a community. So come on, somebody step up for me. Make me feel good walking out the door here. Anything. New member, new Patreon, new super sticker. Super sticker. Come on, somebody's got to love a super sticker. Super chat. Who's going to do it? Look, we even have Jim Williams, Cliff's Edge, Fourth Wall. You can go and you can buy. And then I've got two folks jumping in. You guys are awesome. Go to Fourth Wall. We're going to fix that up too. You're going to have a lot more stuff to buy there. It's going to be awesome. Oh my gosh, you guys, you're overwhelming me now because of what I did. You're fantastic. Remember Fourth Wall, MTG equals B to the sixth. That's our Marjorie Taylor Greene one. We got other stuff. We will get more. Lefty Gramps with a $2 super sticker. You're a prince, my friend. Say what? I don't know if you're a prince or princess or something else, but you are fantastic. $4.99. That is hugely helpful. Thank you so much. We have a new member. Fantastic. Go Accord. All right. Became a YouTube member. You are the goods. And Diane Monrez, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, gave me a $5 super sticker. See, folks, that is the kind of exit that I wanted to leave on. That feels good. Oh, 353. And Sheldon Hughes, who just gave me, I can't seem to click on it, but just was kind enough to give a $5 super chat. There you are, Sheldon. Awesome. I really should show everybody off. So Sheldon, you get yours. Diane, is it Diana? Diana, I'm sorry. Go Accord, go. Say what? Lefty Gramps. WW. Cadillac being awesome. Proverbs. Locomotion. Cadillac again. And then Ava Wilburn. You guys are cool. Treed gave me, is that $199? And EI Dirt gave me $199. My gosh, you guys are just awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That at the end, I do have to be honest. I mean, that at the end when it's, you know, because when it ends here, and I'm going to have to end it in a second or two, or I will have to cut this because they don't allow me any more than 2 hours to rebroadcast, and that's a whole lot more work. So I think we're going to hit the road, but to leave on like the 13, like 7 or 8 of you, not to say every single one was awesome. but 7 or 8 of you jumping in to help out really makes a difference. And now, of course, Carolyn Bowman is getting in. Go Bucks. Okay, we'll be cool with the Go Bucks. We like the Go Bucks. We'll be good with that for $1.99. Thank you so much. Thanks, super chats, super stickers, members. You guys are terrific. Jimmy Jims, I agree. Screw Musk. That's probably the best way to end this whole thing. So as the sun sets slowly, I love when I trip that word up. Sun sets slowly. Try to say that quickly. As the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you all a fond farewell. Thank you again, guys. I'll see you next week. Well, I should have said, so I'm going to have to do my goodbye again. Damn it. We will be doing one on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, unless all of you tell me you can't do it. It'll be 2 o'clock. It'll probably be a shorter one for an hour. And then Wednesday and Thursday we won't do. But I will plan to do one on Tuesday, so plan to be there. And now I will really say, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. Have a great bunch of days, guys, and a great weekend. And Jimmy Jims, of course, gets another $2 after, so that I can't say goodbye a third time. Take care, guys. Thank you.